are you in Texas?
Earth.
Earth?
Yeah, like the planet.
Wow. Tell me about Earth.
It's a short story.
But a wonderful story coming up from Suzanne Reese in Earth, Texas. This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide and the miraculous happens. And God reveals that he's right here, right now. I am your host, Trapper Jack. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, let me know. The website is touchedbyheaven.net. Contact me there, touchedbyheaven.net. Love to hear your story and get you on the show. This episode could also be called Laughter from Heaven. Laughter from Heaven. I don't have a lot of familiarity with country life as Suzanne does. I'm not a city boy. I'm not a country boy. I'm a suburb boy. But my earliest recollection is, 8 or 9 years old. My older sister Janet, for a while there, lived on a dairy farm. They didn't last long there, but all I remember is, I just remember the cow pies. They were just everywhere. Walking through the pasture, and oh my gosh. I learned a very important word early on, boots, I also learned cow bingo at that time, and the cow pie discus throw, I think I learned at that time. That night, dinner came from the pond nearby, frog legs. So we all went down to catch frog legs. Well, they caught them. I just watched as others caught the frogs for dinner. You know how they say frog legs taste just like chicken? It's true. It's true. Really, really bad chicken. That's what it tasted like to me. But anyway, so that was my experience there. Then I was about 13 years old. We had a big family reunion in Kansas on a huge farm, ranch kind of thing. I had an older cousin named Stan. Now, Stan was probably 18, 20 years old and just a great guy. And he wanted to get me out of my suburb shell, if you will. So he said, "You want to ride a horse? Want to ride? Yeah, a horse? Sure." And he saddled up a horse for me, a really nice horse, and I would ride away from the barn slowly, just a little doom, dun, doom, dun, doom. Dun, dun. Yeah, one of those kind of things. And I went down the trail for a little while. Then I turned it around, and then the horse was like, "Oh, we going back to the barn? Triple time." This kind of thing's like, "Oh, yeah, hang on, buddy." And then I get to the barn. I turn him around to go back down the trail. Dun, dun, dun. He just wanted to go back to the barn where the hay, the water, the sleeping was, right? Then Stan would say, "Want to drive a truck?" Ooh, 13, driving a truck? Oh, okay. So down the same trails, he'd get the truck, and I'd sit in the driver's seat and try to learn that the clutch and all that noisy process of learning the clutch. And I drove a truck. That was pretty cool. Want to play basketball? Yeah, I love basketball. Okay. So we played in kind of this, what I thought was dimly lit barn where they had set up this basketball court. And this was a point in my life where I was losing my vision, but I wasn't telling anybody. Why would I tell anybody? Because there was something going wrong with me. I didn't want anybody to know that there was something wrong with me. Insecurities of a 13-year-old. So here I am trying to play basketball, probably 3-on-3 basketball. With what I have, this retinitis pigmentosa, I have night blindness and tunnel vision. So it's like looking through straws, trying to find things. And the ball is just bouncing off my head, off my face. It's like they had to believe I was the most uncoordinated guy in the human race, because it's like, man, what's wrong with that guy? So that was basketball. Next day, want to go rabbit hunting? What? Rabbit hunting? What could go wrong? Rifles and a guy going blind? Sure. Yeah, rabbit hunting. Okay. So a group of us went out to go rabbit hunting, and I wasn't hitting anything, of course. And then came that moment of truth. It was like when Stan said, "This one's yours. See it? Do you see it?" There's one, 10, 15 feet away. Do you see it? And it's like brown on brown. I'm trying to find the rabbit. Now, once I could see them, I was okay, but it was finding the thing. So I'm like looking. Where's the rabbit? Where's the rabbit? I'm trying to find it within the straws, right? Where's the rabbit? And he's going, "It's right there. It's right there. I can't see. That's right." Stan wore glasses. He takes off his glasses and says, "Here." It's like, "Ain't gonna help." He's like, "Where's it?" And then Stan finally went, "What the heck?" And he took care of the rabbit. Stan knew more about my vision issues than anybody in my immediate family. So there I was going blind physically, but spiritually blind, totally blind. I'm a guy we were going to mass every Sunday. We were doing confession every few months. I was going to Catholic school, the whole thing. But was I connected? Not at all, which is not unusual for teenagers, I think, in general, as the world kind of reveals itself to you and you're trying to figure out your way in life and all that. It would be another 35 years before finally everything was connected. Everything was getting connected, so I understood this faith thing. What Touched by Heaven is all about is to show us those moments in other people's lives and for us to look at our own lives At those moments where God is shooting off flares saying, do you see that? There I am. Do you see that? I was not seeing in my own life this push I was getting at 13 really strong to get into broadcasting, radio, television, something. Wasn't sure what it would be, but something. It was so powerful that this is your direction. But I don't remember anybody ever talking about purpose of life, purpose in life, what God was pushing you to. I don't. If they did, it wasn't connecting that this was a God thing. It was very much a God thing. God is in all of our lives shooting off the flare gun going, do you see that? Do you see how I just directed you to that person? Do you see how I'm pushing you towards this? Do you see how I'm guiding you towards that? Did you see how that should reveal something to you about what you should be believing in? Whatever it is. And the whole idea of Touched by Heaven is to highlight other people's and for you to see in your own life and for me to see in my life, ooh, there's God. And then the conversation can begin. And keeping God in the room. When you're in the car, there he is. When you're in your home, there he is. At work, in conversation with anybody, doing business, whatever, there's God in the room because you're always in conversation. How should I handle this, God? How should I be? Oh, it's time for me to help. Please help me bite my tongue right about here. Please be in the room now. To always be conscious that he's in the room and to be connected. It changes how you live your life. Changes your conversations with others, changes how you treat others when God is in the room. Conversation. So now I want you to experience a little piece of heaven. Because heaven on earth, living heaven on earth, has to do with accepting everything in our lives. That's huge. Jesus did it. We have to do it. Accepting everything in our lives. Keeping God in the room, keeping God first. So we're going to go down now to Earth, Texas, to talk to Suzanne Reese. She's going to share with you her Touched by Heaven moment. It's wonderful. It's lovely. But that's not why. That's not why I want you to hear Suzanne. I want you to hear past that story into how Suzanne creates for others a little piece of heaven, how she lives in heaven on earth, and how we all can live in heaven on earth. Tell me about Earth.
It's a short story.
Yeah.
There's, maybe 1,000, 1,200 people or so.
Okay.
Well, we're agricultural.
Mm-hmm.
So
that would make sense. Earth. That would make sense.
Wouldn't it though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of cotton, some corn, cattle.
You should have worms too. There should be worms.
I agree, but it's a little dry for them. We only get them in spells,
Yeah, in spells. Now, see, there's pure Texas right there. It only happens in spells.
It only happens in the spells.
Yeah. How did you find Touched by Heaven?
I was listening to the paranormal podcast.
Another one. There's a lot of paranormal people. You are the most active people too. I'll tell you, you're a lot more active than a lot of the faith people who listen. It's remarkable. You all come with stories.
I was a faith person before I was a paranormal person.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there's a whole lot of stuff out there to still be curious about.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a Jesus girl. I was raised in the Baptist church. So I've always known that side, but there's just been some things along the way that make me feel like there's a lot that God doesn't include in the Bible that are left up to mystery and imagination, and I'm so curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love the paranormal podcast because I really feel like he's a Jesus guy too, and he kind of he's the one that sort of made me feel okay about being curious about all the stuff that I don't understand out there.
Right.
And that I can do that and still have absolute faith in the God that I love.
There you go. Well, how do you think we're doing within our Touched by Heaven realm? What do you think?
I am all about keeping your eyes open for the miraculous because it happens way more often than what we give God credit for. I think he is so busy and we are too busy to see how busy he is. With his provision for us on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. I think we are focused on little people and little screens and little schedules and little stuff, and there's this big giant stuff that God is doing. And I am so vigilant about that. I mean, that's extremely important to me, that I am available to him when he needs me, if he needs me, because he doesn't really need me, but I love that he still uses me anyway.
I get that. No, I agree. Isn't it amazing that, how he includes us? And I love I love how he shoots off his flare gun saying, did you see that? You see what I did there? You see what I did there? And you're right. Most people are kind of oblivious about it in their own lives, but it's there every day.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, what is the story that kind of, when you heard the podcast, you said that's a nice touch by heaven moment right there?
This has been, to a great degree, one of my private miracles. I have told this a few times, but it is so profound to me that it's almost sacred. I mean, it just is that big to me, because God is all about life. And the job I found was being an activity director at a nursing home. I felt like my job there was so much to bring the sunshine in. And there was this group of about 5 ladies, and they were so awesome. I mean, they were just all full of spunk and orneriness and love for each other and love for Jesus. And I just adored these women. And there was one particular lady, and her name was Martha. And she had enough orneriness for about all of them. She just really, she was so spunky and ornery and cute. She got a lot out of life, if you know what I mean. She just really, really did. And she loved Jesus, and she enjoyed getting a rise out of the other ladies. Like, we would do fingernails, and she couldn't have cared less about fingernails, and neither could I. I'm more of a gardener, and she was it just wasn't a big thing for her. But she got started one day reading the bottoms of the fingernail polish for the names. And so if it sounded just a little bit risque or just a little bit dirty, she would wait until the churchy women were around the table. And she would say, "Ooh, and she would start making a big deal about, and she would just do things to embarrass people. She was so much fun. I just loved her so much. I went away one weekend, and when I came back, she wasn't there. And they said she was in the hospital and that she was dying. And I had called my husband, and I said, as soon as I'm out of work and you're out of work, we are going to Lubbock, and I've got to go see Martha. And I said, oh my gosh. He said, what? I said, I have to get fingernail polish. He said, okay. I said, that's what we always did together. I've got to get fingernail polish. So here I am taking my sweet church boy into the Walgreens to find fingernail polish. And he says, what color? And I'm kind of embarrassed, Honey, it really doesn't matter what color it is as long as it sounds kind of dirty.
Okay.
And so he found it. It was Boom Boom. That's a fingernail polish.
Boom Boom?
Boom Boom. That's what we came up with. So
okay.
I took it to the hospital, and, her daughters were there. And also all through the whole time that I worked there, she would always say, you need another baby. And I'd say, well, Jesus knows where I am. I talked to him today. He knows where I am. And if he wants to send me another one, he'll have to do that.
How old were you at the time?
35.
Okay.
Anyway, we went to go paint her fingernails. And she said, I'm so glad you came to see me. I said, I wouldn't have missed it. She said, I'm going to get to go see Jesus. I said, yes, Martha, what is the first thing you're going to do? Trying to keep it light, not trying to go to that emotional place. What is the first thing you're going to do when you go to heaven? She looked at me with tears streaming down her face, and she said, I'm going to tell Jesus that you need you a little boy. You need another baby. And I cried then, like I'm crying now. And I think there's something amazingly precious about weeping in the presence of God together with other people who love Jesus and sharing that pain. You couldn't tell my tears from her tears. They were just everywhere. And, but that was just such a special moment between us. And I said, oh, Martha, that is the sweetest thing anybody's ever said to me in my life. But there's so much that you are going to want to do. You're going to want to see Sandra. That was a friend of ours that had already died. You're going to want to go. You're going to get to see your baby. She had lost a baby, and that was a big thing that she processed towards the end of her life. And we had walked through that together. And I said, you're going to miss all of that. And I said, you have to go do those things first. You go see your baby. You love on Jesus. You go see your parents. You talk to Sandra. You do what you're going to do. And then if you're still thinking about it, then you can tell Jesus. And I didn't think about that again. It was just such a precious gift that she was going to heaven and she was thinking about me. Would I be that generous? I just don't know. I don't know. But she was awesome. And we parted that ways that night, and we cried and we laughed a lot. They let me speak at her funeral, which was just the greatest honor ever. And right after she died, within 2 months, all of those ladies died. And I had to quit that job because I could not quit crying. I mean, these were adopted mothers and grandmothers to me, and I just had the hardest time moving on from that because they all died all together, and I think they couldn't stand not being around each other. I think they had to go be together. Oh my goodness, Jesus has his hands full. He's the activity director now.
5 in a really short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Had another job and was doing other things, and it was really crazy busy. About a year and a half later, my husband and I came up with the thought, it's possible that I'm pregnant. Now, I wasn't thinking about Martha. I wasn't thinking about any of that. It just seemed really weird to me. And we went in for the sonogram. The very first swipe across my belly at the sonogram, and I saw fingers and I saw toes, and I did the biggest gasp because I'm so much farther along than what I ever dreamed I was. And in that moment, I heard my ladies laugh. All of their individual laughs, they were there.
I love that. You could hear them laughing. You physically, audibly could hear them laughing.
on everything that is true and holy. Yes, sir. I heard my girls, and my first thought was, oh my gosh, y'all have gone to heaven and you're still jacking with me. I mean, that was literally my first thought was that, they're still messing with me. They've gone on to see the creator of the universe and they still have time to mess with me. And I mean, I was crying, ridiculously crying at this point, ugly cry, not even cute cry. No. Snot and tears, and it was bad. But it was great. And my husband's like, "It's okay, honey. It's okay, honey. It'll be fine." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. You didn't hear what I just heard. You didn't hear." I mean, because their laughs were very distinctive. There was some specific things about them. One of them had MS, and so as she lost control of her voice, of her muscles, she also lost control of her vocal cords, and her laugh sounded so much more like a cough than it did like a laugh. And it was deep and it was guttural, and I mean, you couldn't mistake it for anybody else's ever. And oh my goodness, and I told him in the car what I had heard, and I thought, oh my goodness, if Martha and the gals sent me this baby, he's gonna be so ornery. We had better be praying.
And
oh, he is.
Yeah.
He is all of that. He is lively and fun.
How old is he now?
He's 5.
Wow.
And you never know what he's going to say, just like Martha. You never know what he's going to say. I mean, but it's always with such joy and this smile that is just 3 miles wide and full of teeth. And he is just beautiful. Like, whenever I was cleaning the other day and I was like, come on, Jack, go figure. Jack, help me clean. We got to get this done. There's people coming. And he looks up at me and says, Mommy, if we just turn out the lights, nobody will see anything.
I'm with the kid. I like that.
There's just, his logic is different and his sense of humor is awesome. And I never know.
It's a shame we lose that. It's a shame when we lose that, because you should take that with him forever. I hope he does. I hope he always has that.
Martha never lost it. She never did. And so with her being a part of his arrival, I can't help but think that he'll have that forever. He makes me laugh every day, and I never know what he's going to say. And he is a perpetual reminder that I did what Jesus wanted me to do in that job. And I touched some people's lives in a large enough fashion that they went to heaven and are still messing with me. And, my God is so real. He's so real. And he so knows just what we need before we ever even know that we need it. And that he's already got things choreographed to come in such a way that we don't have a chance to give up.
Yeah, he's got it all in his hands. I know he answers prayers sometimes before we ask, or I'm dazzled by how he answers prayers. I'm dazzled.
I love that. That's a great way to say that. I am too. I'm so dazzled by the reality of my God and the creator of the universe cares about me. my needs and you know, and the stuff that's going on in my little world. It's just unfathomable to me that that he has so much to take care of, and that he loves me so intimately that we don't ever have to lose conversation, you know, that we just talk all the time. All the time. I have come to the point that I'm not so much in a scheduled prayer time, that it is just this ongoing conversation that we have all the time. And I wanted, you know, there's like, as a parent, I mean, I know my God is real. I've heard his voice. I know that he speaks to me. But I really, really, really wanted for my girl. She's 11 and she's beautiful and she's got this amazing heart. And I wanted to make sure that she knew that she could hear from God. If she wanted to hear from God, that she could hear from God, that it works like that. You know, if you want that conversation, that he will supply that need. He will be there. He wants that friendship. He wants that intimacy. And, I mean, my husband laughs at me all the time because we never make it through a winter without having to buy new coats or whatever, because I'm always giving them away. I never, you know, I'm always forever finding, oh, they need that. So I'm just giving it away to random people when I think God wants me to. And, like, you know, buying homeless people lunch and doing stuff like that is just really, really normal. And, I was concerned that I hadn't communicated to my daughter that you don't just give to everybody. You get that God will be specific with you. There are people who are out there and they're working people, and God will give you discernment about who needs help. Where does that come from? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to get taken. If you do, that's between them and God. It's not really your deal, it's theirs. But he'll tell you who needs what. And we were driving in town one day, and there was a homeless person, and she looked at me and said, "Did God tell you anything about that one?" He even answered my prayers about whether or not I'd done my job about telling her that that she can hear from him. You know, he's so real. He's so very real.
What a beautiful example you set for your daughter, that she would look at you and say, "Get anything on that?" I mean, that says so much about your relationship and how she looks at you.
Well, you know, she's got missions of her own, and I see her doing God's work a lot of the time, being the one that will stand up for the kid who gets picked on and stuff like that. She's the one. She fights for the people that need that, and she has her own. I've seen it so many times with her that she knows who needs defending, and she's there to stand in the gap, and it's beautiful.
The other thing I'd like to touch on is just, and I've been saying this on the podcast almost every episode about this conversation, and that's not the way I used to relate to God at all. You know, it was much more formalized and all that.
Me neither.
You know, and to have this I know what you mean. Sometimes I think my wife catches me just talking to what she thinks is I'm talking to myself, and I'm not. I'm talking to God or Jesus or Mary or a saint or an angel or something. I'm just in a conversation with heavenly beings, and whoever, you know, I want to, you know, take their ear for that moment. And I And sometimes I'm very vocal. Sometimes
Yes.
I'm very loud.
Absolutely.
And it's just part of the conversation. And you talk about hearing somebody laugh. Sometimes I can see the smirk on Jesus's face going, "Are you kidding me right now?" I expect more out of you, pal. That kind of thing. In a fun way.
Yes, absolutely.
So when I talk about the conversation with God, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about that ongoing conversation. And usually for someone who knows what I know, there's too much doubt in me. There's still too much doubt because I'm waiting and I might be complaining. And it's like, well, why is, I don't even ask so much the why as it is just kind of like, boy, your time frame is just certainly not mine, And then he'll come through with something. It's just like, and then he'll dazzle me. And I'm going, why do I doubt? Why do I do anything?
I don't know.
Why do I do anything but just say thank you? Why do I do anything but just to say thank you?
My example on this is recent. I sell insurance, and I went to a meeting. The higher ups in my organization had said, "Oh, will you come join us for a meal? We're going after this meeting, and I want you to go with us." Okay. And we're there, and we're eating, and we're talking, oh, so exciting insurance. And a group of policemen come in. And God said, "You're going to pray with them." And, me thinking, I'm glad to pray for him. God, what do you want me to pray for him about? No. You are going to pray with them. I don't know them. These people that I'm with, what are they? I have all these thoughts. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I knew in my heart there was nothing to be done. It is such an act of futility to argue with God. He always gets his way. It may not be at that particular moment, but he's going to get his way. In an eternal sense, there's no point. There's no point in arguing with God. And so I went, I was shaking to go pray with these fellows that I did not know. And I was absolutely shaking. I mean, it was quaking. So I go over there to pray with them. And I said, I don't know what you guys have been doing or what you are about to do, but God told me I was supposed to come over here and pray with y'all. Is that okay? And being proper Texas fellas, they're like, "Yes, ma'am, that's fine." Yes, ma'am. So, yes, ma'am, that's fine. So we all bow our heads. And, oh my gosh, Trapper, the words that came out of my mouth were amazing and beautiful and not mine. Not by any stretch of the imagination mine. Not mine. I remember a few vague things that I said. One of the things that I remembered is that I prayed that they would be able to see danger a long ways off so that they would have time to prepare, to take action that would save their lives and the lives of the people they were supposed to protect. I mean, things that I am so not deep enough to think these things.
I've never heard anyone pray that. I've never heard anyone. That's beautiful. I've never heard anyone say that.
I can. The only reason I can tell you that is because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. That was my voice, but those were not my words.
Did you get some tears in those guys' eyes? Did you drag some tears?
They were all weeping. Every one of them was weeping. They were all weeping, and so was I. I just, it was God used my voice to speak directly to one or all of them fellas about whatever it was that was weighing heavy on their hearts. And it was so profound.
That was pure Holy Spirit. That was pure Holy Spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I was quaking from that point on, not because of, just because God let me be there. He let me be a part of that. And I don't know how to communicate the level of awe that weighs on your soul when you recognize that you have been in the presence of God and that He used you, your little piddly voice and life, to impact the people in front of you that you may never see again, that they don't know your name and you don't know their name. And it was one of the most amazing, profound moments for me in my faith walk in my life. And I'm telling you, I am now living in anticipation in a way that I wasn't before. I want to do it again. That was a rush. That was a ride, and I want on. I'm at the first of the line, wherever that is.
Tell people how to find that. Tell people how to connect with God like that, because this is what Touched by Heaven is about. It's what my old podcast, Blind Faith Live, was about. It was connecting with God in that very special way that He works through you and says things through you, and you realize you're being guided throughout your life. I love the fact people have these grandiose thoughts sometimes about what they're supposed to be doing, and God puts you in Earth, Texas, population, whatever, and he's affecting so many lives through you in Little Earth, Texas. So you have what people want. You have the connection and the joy. They can hear the joy in your heart. They hear the joy in your voice, and they're a little envious, and they're a little unsure, and they're not sure whether to trust somebody that filled with joy, the joy of God that is in you. I'm sure you feel that now and then from people, like they're looking at you like you've got something. You've got something.
I get the "Are you for real?" look. That's what I get to me.
Yeah. So tell them how to get there, because they want what you have. They're just not sure how to get there.
Okay. One of my biggest things is if you've ever read the Psalms, David did not put on his church clothes to pray. Wherever he was at, whatever ugly, nasty mess he was feeling, it was all out there for God. I feel like we want to use all this holy language and all this churchy liturgy that is meaningful on its own, but God wants you. He wants the friendship with you. And there's not a thought that you have. There is not a intention that is in your soul that He isn't aware of already. Whatever it is, you let Him have it. All of it. Ugly or not. You let Him have it right where you are. Like some of my favorite verses in the Psalms are things where David says, and I'm paraphrasing, this is the Suzanne paraphrase. You probably won't pay anybody to get that. You know what I'm saying? But, oh, Lord, kill them, you know? Smite them, ye mighty smiter kind of stuff that he says when he's just angry with people and with his situation. And he's so real and genuine with God. He doesn't pretend nothing. I have loved David for years, and I have thought he was a man after God's own heart, not because everything he said was particularly beautiful. Some of it was remarkably not beautiful. It was raw and it was ugly, but he was honest with God about where he was in that moment. All the resentment, all the anger, all the anguish, all the pain, it's out there. And he lays it at the feet of Jesus, and Jesus loves him for it. There's an inherent honesty to the relationship that you have with God. And if you don't have it, it's not his fault. It's yours. He's ready, and he's waiting for you to drop that nasty load at his doorstep and let him make something beautiful out of it. Because he does. He does it every time. He is so faithful. I'm not Catholic, but I have always, I've had awesome Catholic friends that have dispelled any fear or, phobias that we might have about each other's faith. They are real, and we're all going to the same place. I'm convinced. We all know the same God, and we are going to the same place. And through them, I have gotten the saint that I have gotten a hold of and read the most was Mother Teresa, about Mother Teresa. And my, she loved people that there was no glory in loving. There was no glory in the work that she did in Calcutta. It was ugly. It was gross. It was picking people up off the streets, and they were dying, and she gave them a bath so they could go out clean. I mean, these were not things that there was a TV camera waiting for, to give her any kind of, admiration for. And I got a series of DVDs that she had called Thirsting for God. And it was actual recordings of her little voice, her little shaky, quaky voice. Sometimes it sounded like a tape recorder in the back of the room in a cafeteria somewhere. It sounded so bad. And so you had to listen really, really close to what she was saying to get it. And I just adored her perspective. Is we can do no great things, only small things with great love. And that is my little mission right here in Earth, Texas, or wherever I go, is to find those little people who need Jesus in that moment and be Jesus for them.
When Jesus comes, he's taking you with him,
Oh, it's going to be a good day, baby. That's going to be a good day. I will see you, and you will see me too.
You have just totally humbled me. I'm in awe of you, Ms. Suzanne Reese. I'm in absolute awe of you. You get it. And you are about what Jesus is about. And the rest sometimes gets so theological, but I always find that those who are talking so theologically and high, I don't want to criticize anyone. Say that everyone is where they are, and God will meet all of us where we are. That's the beauty of God. He meets every single one of us where we are.
Yes.
But he wants more of you. He wants more people like you doing what you're doing on a personal level versus as it says in Leviticus. You know what I'm saying? You're just pure heart. You're just pure heart, and that's what he's looking for.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's who I want to be.
All right.
It's not who I am every day.
Well, you got me in tears, and maybe a couple of other people too. You got me in tears. I'm just in awe. I'm in awe.
Well,
we all need more of you and us.
I just want people to know my God is real, and he's as real to you as he is to me. He's so real, and he loves you so much. And it just breaks my heart when people allow Christians to define Christianity. Because we are such a pitiful representation of who he is. You know, at my very best, I am a pitiful representation of the God that I serve.
That's beautifully hysterical. That is so perfectly, wonderfully, hysterically perfect, wonderful, hysterical. It is, because we all are. You're absolutely right. We can talk ourselves into a million different ways of what a wonderful person I am, but boy, that's what it is. That's what it is.
I ain't got nothing. It's the grace of God who lets any of us get anything right at any given moment. I mean, truly, let me have it. I'll screw it up. No, it's got to be his. It's got to be his, or I'll mess it up every time.
God bless you, Suzanne. God bless you.
God bless you back, Trapper Jack. What a blessing it was to find your podcast. And I really, really hope that this little, that my little story, that my little testimony is something that convinces somebody.
I needed you today, and I think we all needed you today. If they listen to all of this, they're with me on that. I'm going to get myself a cowboy hat and get on my tractor and ride. Here we go. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless. A little heaven on earth, Texas, with Suzanne Reese. Thanks, Suzanne. Authentic. You are authentic. That is for sure. You're talking about David being authentic, basically, right? Suzanne is also. But David, she's talking about David, how David messed up so much. Here's David. This is the Michelangelo's David. This is the guy. This is the guy with the slingshot and the 5 rocks. Only took him 1 hit, though. They try to put armor on him to go do battle. And no, that's not the way I want this. And he feels this push. Whoever slays Goliath has been promised huge personal wealth and freedom and power and all that. But that's not why he's doing this. He's doing this for his people. He's doing this because it will please God. He's doing this because God is pushing him to do it. He's feeling that purpose in life to go do this. And out he goes, and 1 rock and thunk in the forehead, and goodbye Goliath. He runs up there, grabs a sword, off goes the head. Well, hello there, David. He becomes king, and he messes up. He sees this woman who's married and goes, I don't care. And he gets her pregnant, and then how do I handle this? Well, I'll just send her husband to the front lines and get him killed, which he does, and he dies. And it's like, oh, I guess that's not a good thing. And he just begs forgiveness from God. I mean, he goes back and forth with these wonderful moments of love for God, and then he messes up. And we all mess up. The point is, we all mess up, and God welcomes us back when we say we're sorry, and we're truly, truly sorry. We are all what you call pitiful representations of Christ, pitiful representations of Christian living. We all are. We all mess up, and God takes us all back. We say we're sorry, and it's authentic, it's real, it's raw. That's what we're called to do. All right, I think that's our giant takeaway and a little bit of heaven on earth. And if you have any comments, please let me know at touchedbyheaven.net. And I would love to hear your story. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and tell us your story, please do by going to touchedbyheaven.net. Touchedbyheaven.net. Thanks for listening to the show, subscribing to the show, leaving your ratings and comments inside the Apple Podcast app. Thank you for your ratings and reviews. And thank you also this week to Nancy and Eileen, who are now helping us out financially. Thank you so much for helping us here at Touched by Heaven Another episode, of course, coming up next week, and I will see you then. I am Trapper Jack for Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God.